Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So, if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th.
Gabby is best friends with Keon. Keon is the perp. Gabby Gabby is best friends with him. So everybody's like, Breezy was right. It was a light skin girl vibe because
Have you ever wondered how someone can just disappear without a trace, and the people closest to them are left questioning every single detail? Well, today on Shadow Crime, we're diving into the heartbreaking case of Kada Scott, a young woman whose life was cut tragically short. Before we get deep into this, make sure you watch our previous video on Kada's last message. It really sets the stage for everything we're about to discuss. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell icon so you never miss a shadow crime story. Kada was just 23, full of life, working nights at an assisted living facility in Philadelphia. Friends describe her as vibrant, ambitious, someone who lit up a room the moment she walked in. Her family, heartbroken beyond words, kept her spirit alive in their memories, sharing stories of her laughter, her plans, and her dreams that were never meant to end this way. But there was a dark shadow lurking over her life even before that fateful night. Harassing phone calls from an unknown number that left her uneasy, anxious, and constantly checking her surroundings. Her disappearance shook the community. It wasn't just another missing person case. People felt it deeply because Kada was relatable, someone who could have been a sister, a daughter, a friend to any of us. The uncertainty, the fear, and the unknowns created a tension that was almost unbearable. As the days passed, family and friends held vigils, posted pleas on social media, and desperately tried to track any leads. It was in this atmosphere of worry and heartbreak that a friend of Kada's, Gabby, came forward on a TikTok live to share her perspective. She spoke directly to the camera, her voice trembling, revealing details that hadn't been publicly confirmed before, hinting at the connections around Kada's life and the people she trusted. Watching Gabby speak sent chills down the spines of many who followed the case. She revealed that she knew Keon King, the man arrested in connection to Kada's disappearance, and that they were friends. It was a subtle comment at first, but the implications were staggering. Gabby didn't just share gossip. She laid out a picture of how intertwined some of the people around Kada were, the networks of relationships that may have played a role in what happened that night. Viewers felt a mix of anger, confusion, and disbelief. Questions started flooding in. How could someone who was considered a friend be tied to such a tragedy? What role did knowledge, silence, or influence play in Kada's disappearance and eventual death? As we dive further, it becomes impossible not to feel the tension rising. Every detail shared by Gabby added another layer of complexity. The notion that Keon and Gabby were friends sent a ripple through the community. Suddenly, things that seemed simple became complicated. People started reevaluating interactions, text messages, and social connections. Every revelation was a thread pulling at a tapestry that, unfortunately, was already stained with grief. Now, as we play Gabby's video, listen closely to what she says. Pay attention to the way she talks, the hesitation in her voice, and the details she shares. She explains how she knew Keon King and the nature of their friendship. She admits that there were moments when she realized things weren't right, moments where her instincts told her that Kada might be in danger. She reveals that there were conversations, small interactions, messages that in hindsight take on a darker meaning.
Hi, my name is Gabby, and I'm going to be discussing some of the misinformations that are going around in the internet regarding me and the Kada Scott situation. So, if you are unaware, Kada Scott is a girl that went missing in Philadelphia on October 4th. So I did know Keon. He was my friend. I met him about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was also the local pharmacist. Now, me and my best friend, we were also mutual friends with Keon. He was our pharmacist. So one day Keon calls me, and keep in mind, I am in school. I am in Maryland, and he will usually just call me, just to check up and talk. So he calls me, and he asks me if I know Kada. And I'm like, yeah, like, I know Kada. And he's like, oh, yeah, I noticed that she lives really close to you. I'm like, yeah, like, she lived right in the back of me. And I'm not thinking nothing of it because he usually calls me and, we just be chatting. He'll call me about, like, the people that be around because he is the pharmacist. I live in the neighborhood and he be in my neighborhood. So we hang up the phone, and that was that. We were only on the phone for 29 seconds. So you can see that this is the day that he called me, and this was before Kada went missing, and we were only on the phone for 29 seconds. Also, I know that his name says Elliot in my phone. That's just what we call him. So a couple of days after that, my best friend calls me, and, we're just talking about life. And I mentioned to her how Keon brought up Kada to me. I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm like, oh, yeah, like, he was probably trying to flirt with her. He's probably trying to get at her. Mind you, me and my best friend, we know Kada because we grew up with her little sister. Now, we didn't know Kada personally because, again, we grew up with her little sister. We were around 12, 11 years old. Kada, she was much older than us, so we didn't really talk to her. So my best friend was like, oh, yeah, like, he probably thought she was cute, and that was that. So right here is the day that I called my best friend and told her that, Keon was trying to get at Kada. This is before she went missing. So a couple days, maybe a week after that, it is reported on October 4th that Kada is missing. So keep in mind, I am in Maryland, so I'm not really into all the Philadelphia news that be going on. So I'm not knowing that Kada is missing until my best friend sends me a text and says that Kada is missing. So this is the day that my best friend tells me that Kada is missing on October 9th. So I'm in my friend's dorm and I call Keon, and it's a lot of music and a lot going on in the background. So I go somewhere that's quiet and I tell him, Keon, Kada is missing. Like, that girl, she's missing. So he was like, what? And then after that, the phone just hung up. So here you can see that I called Keon and we were on the phone for 2 minutes. So you have to keep in mind, this was my friend, okay? I did not think that he could be capable of anything like this. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's no way in the world he could have did something like this. There's no way in the world. So then a couple of days after that, my mom sends me a screenshot of Keon turning himself in for the kidnapping of Kada. So this is my mom sending me the article, and she was distraught to say the least. And I know she said that he was a random person, but she says this about all my friends. So me and my best friend, we get on the phone and we're talking about the situation. We're just saying how this is just crazy. This is the call of me and her talking about it. Now, this is all happening around the time that I'm taking my midterms. So I'm really just trying to keep my head on the books. And I wasn't really trying to let this stress me out. So I kind of just let it go. He turned himself in. It's not really much to say or do anymore. So a couple days after that, me and my best friend get on the phone and we're basically just, talking about the Kada situation. And she says that she thinks that I should call the cops. So she was basically saying that she thinks that I should call the cops and tell them that Keon was, asking about Kada. Now, at the time in my head, I'm thinking that there was no reason to call the cops. He already turned himself in. And I felt like it would be kind of a waste of time to tell them that the guy that they already have in custody, called me and was asking about the girl. And me personally, I'm not a cop caller. Like, I don't call the cops. That's just the way that I grew up. That's what I was around. They will always tell me, you don't call the cops. So I just felt like, the information that I had and the fact that, I'm just not really a cop caller, it wouldn't make sense for me to call the cops. So then my best friend tells me, well, if you won't call the cops and tell them, then I will. And then she basically tells me that she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore because I won't call the cops. And I told her, that's completely fine. I just don't want any involvement. So then we hung up the phone, and then I believe she called me again with the police on the other line. So you can see, I told her, I'm sorry, I'm not talking to the cops. And yeah. Now, I can't see how this could be cruel, and I do take accountability for that. So then a couple of days later after that, I get sent a link on Instagram. And the link was basically my best friend going live, just talking about the situation, saying how I was weird for not going to the cops. And people in the comments were just coming up with their own narratives about the story. And it just got way out of hand and it just spiraled. So you can see somebody sent me the link of the live, and still to this day, I have not watched the full entire live. Then people just started asking, who is Gabby? What's the connection? And, she told people that I was in Maryland for school, and It was just a whole entire thing. So, of course, I was angry and I was confused because what is going on? So I text her. I tell her that, that was weird. And yeah. Then I started seeing posts of people saying that they think that I set Kada up and that why wouldn't I go to the cops and that I was just suspicious and all of this stuff. And this was never the case. So I do end up contacting the authorities after I seen people just making up crazy stuff about me and the situation. They cut me off. They tell me that they already know what's going on, that they have a close eye on the social media. And they also tell me that my friend did come forth with the information and they told her that there was nothing that they can do, that the information that she brought them was useless information because they already had Keon in custody and it was just nothing for them to do with this information. They told me to contact them only if I had anything that could lead to finding Kada because that is their main priority. Now, I do believe that the person in the live was just kind of taking what I told her and running with it and just spicing it up to make it seem like something that it wasn't for, I don't know, maybe views. People were saying that, she was walking around and showing what stores Kada would go to, where she would walk her dog, and just stuff like that. I also had one of our mutual friends come to me and he told me that she told him that we knew Kada our whole lives and like we grew up with her, which wasn't the case because we grew up with her little sister. Now, I do think that the person in the live was taking what I told them and kind of just running with it and spicing it up to make it seem like it was way bigger than what it was. And I basically think this because I had a mutual friend that came to me and said that she came to them and told them that we knew Kada our whole life and that we grew up with Kada when that wasn't the case. We grew up with her little sister. My prayers go out to Kada and her family, and I hope that she can make a safe return home.
You can feel the weight in her voice, the guilt, the fear, and the struggle to process it all. Gabby talks about how she and Kada would often discuss work, plans for the weekend, and personal struggles. She shares memories of Kada laughing, joking, and being the person everyone could rely on. But she also explains the tension that existed behind the scenes, the unease that Kada sometimes felt around certain people. It's impossible not to feel that tension rise as you hear Gabby describe moments that seem harmless at the time, but now feel like critical warning signs. She also confirms, as the aunt later mentioned, that Keon and she were friends. It isn't presented as a boast or a claim. It's an acknowledgement of the complexity of human relationships. Gabby describes how, in her circle, Keon seemed charming, likable, and trustworthy, which made it difficult to believe he could be capable of harming someone like Kada. This contrast between appearance and reality, between the face people show to the world and the darkness behind it, is what makes this story so haunting. The tension continues to build as Gabby shares her emotions, fear, regret, and sorrow. She talks about nights spent worrying, about moments she wishes she could take back, and how she wished she had recognized the signs earlier. Her words make you lean in closer because they feel raw, real, and human. You start to understand how Kada's world might have seemed ordinary on the surface, while danger was quietly circling closer than anyone realized. As viewers, you can't help but feel the unease growing. The trust we place in friends, the hidden connections, the things left unsaid, all of it becomes a web, and Kada got caught in it. Every statement Gabby makes sheds light on the complexities that surrounded Kada, her interactions, and the people she relied on. It also opens up a darker thought. How often do we truly know the people around us? And how many layers of reality go unnoticed until it's too late? This is the point where you really start to feel the breakthrough in the narrative. Gabby isn't just a bystander. She's part of the story, part of the puzzle. Her revelations begin to reshape the way we see the events leading to Kada's death. What seemed like isolated actions now connect, revealing subtle patterns of behavior, decisions, and alliances that may have influenced what happened. Now, we turn to Kada's aunt, who went live to share her perspective on the events, the people involved, and her thoughts about Gabby and Keon. She speaks with a mix of grief and clarity, acknowledging the pain of losing Kada, while also shedding light on the relationships surrounding her.
Gabby is best friends with Keon. Keon is the perp. Gabby is best friends with him. So everybody's like, Breezy, you was right. It was a light-skinned girl vibe, because what happened was, when I see my vision, it's two girls. They have on blue t-shirts. And one is light-skinned, high yellow, with two braids in her head. And she looks at me, and it's another girl. She's not as light as her, but she was in the light. She's like my complexion. So she turns her head. So I'm like, they was demonic though. So I'm like, why is they looking at me like this? But this is the vision, like right here. So I've been saying this a long time as well. And then next thing you know, Gabby comes up. Now, Gabby is the girl that they went down Southwest Philadelphia to the house because of Kada phone pinged in the park. Once it pinged in the park, it pinged to Southwest Philadelphia. So the house that they pinged it to was where Gabriella was at. So Gabriella said she didn't know Kada. Then she lied and said she did know Kada because she was getting pressured. So next thing you know, the phone was pinged back. Oh, thing a Lord just came. She was pinged back. Thank you, Spirit. I love you, Spirit. I swear I love my tribe and my ancestors for what they do. All right. So that was a moment. So whatever the case is, she was pinged back to the phone in the area of Ada Lewis School. It was pinged back to Ada Lewis School based upon that's where they originally was at when she showed me that she was there. So when that call said help, she was letting me know I was close. She was letting me know, like, you here, Breezy, Aunt Breezy, what I say. All right, baby, I'm sorry. She was like, it was like she was here. So next thing you know, after that happened, everybody was like, we need to go to the, certain places. So as I'm watching the news, I'm like, wait, white van. I'm like, hold. There go the white truck I was talking about. His car, the gray car was sitting across the street, and there go the white truck. Somebody found his Instagram, same car before it got crashed up. So we know it's him. Moving along, not to bounce all over the place. So Gabby is best friends with him. Now, it was a little girl on TikTok that everybody worked to my attention when she was talking about him and how she knew him. Now, her best friend is the girl who gave me the info. And she lied to me because she didn't know. She told me she didn't know him before. But apparently the girl was on there talking about Kada, how she walks her dog and, things like that. And they, all above. So that's stalker. That's a stalker. I said, she was jealous. I said, she was having fucking Keon. I said, and she knew what Keon was about to do to Kada. Because Keon asked her, because Keon asked her, where do Kada live at? Where does she work at? And all the above. Now, he knew Kada already. It's not a mystery he didn't know Kada. He definitely knows Kada. I want y'all to understand, it was never that he was a stranger to Kada. He knew Kada. He knew who Kada was as a person. Kada knew him as a person. But it was not supposed to go to this level because Kada was not in a relationship with him. She was in a relationship with somebody else. Please, you was not getting up here. She was in a relationship with somebody else. So with that being said, as she was in a relationship with somebody else, let me give you the downloads because I don't want to be all over the place. And my downloads, that's what they do. All right, so earlier we was talking about it. The girl that gave me the jewels, she told her best friend that was talking about Kada on live, she needs to call the police and tell the police what she knows. The girl was like, I'm not telling anybody anything. So apparently the girl said that Keon told Gabby that what he did with Kada, and don't tell nobody where Kada was, me asking about where Kada at and where she live at and where she work at. Because Kim didn't play that, nobody knowing where she lived at. So that's how I know for a fact he didn't know where she lived at. So the girl told, and Gabby promised not to say nothing about what he did to Kada. So Gabby goes to school in Maryland. So the girl was talking about that. Y'all had to go see her live on TikTok. Some people say that, I don't know.
She confirms that Gabby and Keon were friends, explaining how these connections were part of the broader context in which Kada's tragedy unfolded. Her tone is calm but heavy with emotion, the kind of sadness that doesn't scream but lingers, making you feel every word. Her words reveal a family trying to make sense of what happened, while also warning others about the dangers hidden in seemingly ordinary relationships. She talked about trust and how it can be misplaced, how people who appear harmless can sometimes be involved in devastating actions. She emphasizes that understanding these connections is crucial, not to assign blame to everyone, but to help prevent such tragedies in the future. You feel her sincerity, the weight of responsibility she carries, and the determination to honor Kada's memory by speaking out. The aunt describes how her family has coped with the news. They have leaned on each other, drawn strength from community support, and held on to memories of Kada to stay grounded. She explains the funeral as a moment of both mourning and celebration, a chance to remember who Kada was, not just how she died. You can hear the pride in her voice as she recounts the stories of Kada's laughter, her kindness, and her determination. These recollections humanize Kada beyond the headlines, reminding viewers that she was a young woman with dreams and a life that mattered deeply. This perspective introduces a twist in the narrative. While Gabby's video shows a friend processing her role and the connections involved, the aunt's live session provides insight into how the family interprets those same connections. You start to see how relationships that seem ordinary can have hidden consequences, how choices made in everyday interactions can ripple outward, and how grief can illuminate truths that weren't visible before. It adds complexity, forcing viewers to think not only about what happened to Kada, but why it unfolded the way it did. As we reflect on these events, the psychological questions begin to surface. How well do we truly know the people around us? How do ordinary friendships and social ties intersect with danger in ways we cannot always foresee? How does grief reshape our understanding of relationships and trust? What responsibilities do we hold when we recognize signs too late? These questions linger, inviting viewers to examine their own environments and the people they trust. If you followed this story closely, take a moment to reflect on these questions and consider sharing your thoughts in the comments. For more stories like this, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to never miss a shadow crime video. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because awareness can sometimes be the difference between tragedy and prevention.